Hello and thanks for tuning in to another video on Melv Underground. I'm Melv and today we're doing some wallpapering. As you know, as I've stated many times on my previous videos, the reason I'm being so blasé with the finish on the wall is because we're going to do lining paper. At the moment we're waiting for an electrician to do some stuff on the walls, so we're going to go on the ceiling and we're going to start doing the lining paper for the ceiling. Our main issue at the moment is that we only have one ladder to get us up that high, so it's going to be a two-man job. So friends and family may know that I recently proposed to Mrs. Underground, so this is going to be a bit of a test. If we can survive wallpapering a ceiling together, we should be able to get married. So here it goes. Okay, so I've pasted the first bit of paper. I'm just going to wait for that to dry and then we're going to start applying it to the ceiling. So wish us luck.
You're losing it. The top's just flipped over.
Down the wall.
That was my problem. I was too far off the edge.
What the? Okay, so it's the morning after the night before. Things ended up going pretty late last night, so I wasn't able to shoot a conclusion. So here we are, the morning after. As you can see, we successfully papered a wall, and more importantly, I'm still an engaged man. So that took about 5 hours to do 5 sheets. There's a couple of reasons why that took so long. Firstly, the first 2 we laid, we got the technique totally wrong and it took way longer than it should. It was way more traumatic than it should have been. Secondly, we've only got this one ladder, so we're papering quite slowly because I'm having to go up and down, move the ladder across as I paper across. But we've successfully done it. This isn't really so much of a how-to video, it's more of a video about the things that I learned having watched a few how-to videos on YouTube. But there are 4 things that I did learn along the way that will hopefully help you if you're just about to do some papering. Okay, the first one, and by far the most important one, is make sure you're feeding from the right side of your fold. So, first of all, here's past me telling you how you should do it. One thing we've realised we've done wrong on the first 2 is that we've been feeding from the bottom of our fold. So what we've done now is we're making sure that this bit here is going to go on the wall and it's going to feed from the top of our stack of folds here. And that should make everything a lot easier. And this is becoming a worrying theme, this is a video of us feeding from the wrong side and getting it horribly, horribly, horribly wrong.
Okay, so here I am feeding from the bottom of the fold, which is the way you're not supposed to do it. And you can kind of see here how much difficulty I'm having just feeding that next bit of paper along. One of the other things you'll see is that if you feed from the bottom, the bit of paper waiting to go on the wall is hanging much, much lower than it would if you were feeding from the top. So what that ends up doing is you end up having to work against that, like I'm doing quite a lot here, just to keep the paper on the wall. This is definitely the wrong way of doing it.
Okay, so the second thing we learned along the way was to make sure that you paste right up to the edges of the paper and to make sure you got a really good coverage of paste on those edges. We did get a couple of bits where some of the edges just wouldn't stick, and I suspect that's because when we were doing the initial pasting we just slightly missed a bit. So it's quite good to paste right next to a window and you can get low and look at the light and you can just check that you've got paste everywhere, especially along those edges. Tip number 3 would be making sure you paste enough paste on the paper. We only realised on our very last one, when we had loads of paste left over, we kind of went a bit mad to use it all up. We only realised how much easier it was to get the paper to stick initially, especially when you're first starting off, if there's plenty of paste on there. So that little bit of extra paste also gives you just a little bit more time just to move the paper around and get it aligned properly. And finally, tip number 4, as you may know, we've got very high ceilings, they're up 3 metres high, and we only have this one ladder for getting up to that kind of height. Now ideally, when you're doing wallpapering on the ceiling, you will have enough high level equipment to be able to just walk along the length of the paper, and that will do it really, really quickly for you. Unfortunately, we had to keep on going up and down this ladder, and that means you need some way of keeping the wallpaper on the ceiling while you're moving the ladder, which makes it a 2-person job. So what we came up with is this. Now, Normally when you're doing ceilings, if you're doing it on your own, so you'll use this to hold your folds of paper as you move across the wall and do your and brush it onto the ceiling. Now, we needed a way of holding the paper up on the ceiling while I was moving the ladder, so I would be moving this across here, and then Mrs. Underground would come and just take it off me. I could then go, shift the ladder along, come along, and take it back off of her, and then do the next bit before I move the ladder again. So these are both just rolled up pieces of wallpaper from the first bit that were a bit shot at, and then we've just taped on here a roller extender, and that actually held up really reasonably quite well. So especially if there's two of you and you're working at high heights without the proper equipment, you definitely need to probably lash yourself up, something like this, and that helps massively. And it also was probably the only reason we managed to survive doing it the wrong way the first 2 times, was because we had basically 3 hands up there to try and control the paper in the wrong way. Okay, so there are my 4 tips for beginners on doing wallpapering on the ceiling. Obviously, this isn't a how-to video. There's loads of stuff out there on YouTube, so give it a quick search. But this is mainly the things that I hadn't realised from watching those videos, so hopefully they'll be of help to you. Thanks for watching. This has been Melv Underground, and I'm Melv. See you next time.